All right, and here we are with our chaos scene, and we are ready to animate. So the big thing with this is that I want to set up, we have all these adjustments, right? And we have all these parameters that we can change and all these different things that affect the way that our image looks. If you were to animate this, especially if you're going to change this word, or if you're going to change, from scene to scene, as I did in this type of animation, it's really hard to adjust all of those parameters on so many different layers. And here is just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. These are all my animation keyframes for this. There's 60 layers for this typography intro. 60 layers and a lot of keyframes. It's very easy to animate this. It's not hard, but it becomes overwhelming sometimes when you have so many parameters to change on so many different layers. So the way we can combat that is to set up a new adjustment layer and call this adjustments. Let's color this orange, and let's go through and use expression controls. If you go to effect, expression controls, and then a slider control. And I'm going to duplicate this a bunch of times. Maybe put like 15 in there, that's fine. And then what I want to go through is anything that I might want to animate to change the look, I want to make an adjustment for over here. So off the top of my head, I know camera lens blur is going to be one. And what I can do then is go to the adjustment, click this lock layer, come down here, click the arrow, go to effects, or I believe the letter E. Yeah, the letter E gives you all of your effects underneath this layer. And now I can go and click the camera lens blur, and then take this little pick whip and put it up here to the slider. And you'll see that my number changes here. And you'll see that my design will change because the slider is now controlling this parameter. So if I put 60 in like I had before, there you go, we're back to where we are. But the cool thing about this is now I can animate this one parameter. If I click on this layer and hit U, I can move a couple frames and maybe take this down to 30. And again, this is where it gets a little CPU intensive because you're adjusting so many things that deal with fractal noise and distortion. It can get a little hectic sometimes on your processing, but that's where this adjustment layer really helps save time. So go through. What I want to do is horizontal displace, type, vertical displace type. Let's do fractal 01. Let me type this correctly. Fractal 01 random seed. Fractal 02 random seed. Let's see here. What else do we want? There is Gaussian blur on here on our main typography. Gaussian blur type. Global glow width. And all that means is just anything that I say global means to these layers up here. So these are the layers that affect the overall image. So you can either say overall, global, whatever you would like. And let's just leave it at that for now. So I can delete all those. And then with this continually being locked, let's go and set up the displacement map. Now I have two in here, but the displace that I'm talking about is see if it's that one. It's the other one. Yeah. Is it the other one? Let's just put 01 behind here, and then let's duplicate these and go 02, 02. So I have horizontal displace type 01, vertical 01, horizontal 01, or horizontal 02, vertical 02. And that's just gonna talk about my displacement map 01 and displacement map 02. Okay. So 01 is going to have a max here, and right now it's at 39. So let's set this to 39 once we clamp it. The vertical is set to 56. So let's go to 56. And then let's go to displacement map 02 and do the same thing. This was minus 10, right? And this vertical is 30. All right, now I can go to fractal 1 random seed. And remember, the random seeds here, the random seed has to do with the look and the way, the pattern of this. So I want to be able to change this pattern on the fly, and that's what I'm setting up now. So let's go back to adjustments, clamp this down, fractal 01, scroll down here to evolution options, and then random seed. So let's click and drag that. And this was set to 3 before I did that. And you can see now it's back to 3. And the red numbers mean that an expression has been used. And this is just saying that this comp layer is tied to slider and the slider name, and the slider will control all of this. If you delete this slider, you're going to get an expression error, or if I undo, and if you accidentally delete this adjustments, you're going to get an expression error. Now really, the expression error doesn't really affect anything except for the fact that you kind of have broken links now in your document. So once you set this up, try not to delete anything because it might be hard to find what has been deleted. Fractal 02. This I'm going to duplicate, and then I'm also going to say fractal 02 expansion. Mask expansion. So I can take this now if I turn on my mask and take my mask expansion. I got to keep this locked. Mask expansion here and go to that right there. Let me, yeah, I'm good. So now what I can do, if I turn this on and off, if I turn this mask expansion up, it is going to increase the area of my mask. Now you can't see that with here because the mask expansion kind of works in the background, but I'm expanding this mask by 31 pixels. So if I have a big design, like in my original one, I have this A here, my mask expansion, I'm probably going to want to be a lot larger than something like this, where my mask expansion, I'm going to want like 1 or 2 pixels, if anything at all, because this type is so small. So this is where you get that control. This is where you really get to hone in your design. Let's set that back to 0. The effect, fractal noise, evolution options, and tie the random seed to that guy. And then Gaussian blur type. Let's go back up here. Gaussian blur. Blurriness is at a 10. So let's set this back to 10. And there we go. We're back to where we're at. And then the overall glow. Now here I originally had 1 S glow and now I have 2 glows. So you might have to do 2 because I don't think you can tie 2 separate things to 1 slider, but let's try that. So what I want to do is do the glow radius because that is my size, right? And I want this to be 150 and the glow radius is different here. So yes, we have to do 2 sliders. So let's go glow width 01, duplicate it, glow width 02. Let's actually take this here. And then let's change this to 200. You know, you can retie a link and now this glow width is not tied to the top one. And then just reset everything and there you go. So now what I can do with the parameters that I've set up, I can animate that stuff. So the first thing that I want to do is let's go into our typography and maybe let's animate this stuff coming on letter by letter. And I'm just kind of making things random here. And let's actually do this 2 letters at a time. So boom, boom, boom. And then let's bring this back 6. So it goes blank, 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 blank. All right, and now I want to go to position and create some secondary motion. So when this comes in, let's toggle hold keyframe. Set this in the beginning. Let's actually do that for all of these. Toggle hold keyframe at the beginning. So they're all centered up to where they need to be. And then when this S comes on, let's actually have that slide over here. Let's take the O and the S and let's have that slide in over here. And then let's have the O come back to this. Oops. Let's have it come a few frames and let's have it come back to this position. And I'm going to make that a full square. And then let's go a little bit over. And then back to where we originally wanted it to land. So this is how I did the animation. I had things kind of pop on with stop or hold keyframes. And then some things came in and then had secondary motion added to them. So let's play that through. Whoops, 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 whoops. Pull this a little bit tighter. So it just looks like things are getting clicked into place. And what I want to do too is add the A. When the O moves, I want the A now to come down. And then when the S comes in, I want this to kind of split and go right back to where it was. Let's make that a square. A full hold keyframe. So you see how these are coming and kind of plopping in and out of place and interacting with each other now. So that was, and maybe I just hold this out a little bit. Nope, too much. Maybe I take these 2 keyframes and pull them in. You can sit here, that looks pretty good. You can sit here and mess with that all day, get your timing right. So now I have, let's go back to this. Let's turn all of my effects off. And now I have, I'm gonna go down to quarter so I can render this a little bit quicker. See things come on in that fashion, but now I can take it one step further, okay? Oops, let's not turn on my, and I can animate all of these parameters that I set up. So let's set up all of these sliders here. Let's hit U on the keyboard. And let's make them hold keyframes. You can also go back, right click, toggle hold keyframe. And let's go through here and maybe make the Gaussian blur. Where's the Gaussian blur at? Right here. Maybe let's make this super high, like 100 pixels. And as things come in, like that, now I can drop it back down to like 50. And maybe let's do a new random seed of 1. Maybe let's do 5. That could work. And then you're just kind of going frame by frame, and not frame by frame per se, but every few frames, just kind of seeing what works. Maybe let's change this guy in. Maybe let's change the blur back down to what it was, which was 10. Glow width, I don't want to mess with. Maybe vertical displacement will go up to 50. Maybe. Let's take it up to 75 and really kind of crank it up there. Let's do vertical of 20. And again, I'm on quarter, so we turn this to, let's do half maybe. 100. There you go. And then let's go back to the beginning of where we were at. And let's play this and see what we get. There comes my sea, nice and blurry. And things are going to be grungy and kind of snap into place there. And you can animate that all day. But you see the effect that you get. You can have different looks within this and intertwine everything together. So that is the whole effect and how you set up the rig. What I want to show now is how I did this, and just a quick overview. Here are all my keyframes and all my sliders, and let's fit this into our comp here. And you can see, here's my starting point and all of the different sliders that I had set up inside of here. So here, the blurs start kicking into high gear. They're a little bit thicker. And you see from this scene to this scene, see how much distortion I added in there. You know, so these things are really moving and grooving in here, but it's just these small little adjustments from scene to scene, from frame to frame. And one thing that I loved here is this transitions, this distortion layer, that was the mask expansion layer, the fractal O2. Really cranking up the horizontal displacement on this helped the transition between the A and the G. So you can see how it just kind of distorts into, and it's a little abrupt right there between there and there, but you can see how it helps distort and break up that transition, so we're not just popping things on and off. And here you go. When one thing is clear, I like to grunge it up and drop it back, and then bring it clear again, maybe bring it back clear with a different random seed on my fractal. And then here is the camera lens blur taking over, and that's really, really strong. So my camera lens blur is set to 50 right here. And the glow width is set to 48, so a high glow. And then we're back to cleaning it up. It's grungy, it's blurry. You can see the blur map here, half the screen. And then we're going to clean it back up. Here's our distort. See the bubbleizing of the distortion in that center. We're going to straighten it out again, just in time for the W transition. And here you go. Really, really grungy, really, really distorted. Clean it back up. Heavy, heavy blur on the camera lens blur. And the type Gaussian blur, I guess, is what is actually doing that. The camera lens blur too can do that. So whichever one, and there's the camera lens blur. So that's how you get the S being in clear, and then the fractal noise, wherever the fractal noise kind of sits, is what is going to be blurry. That's from the camera lens blur layer. So hope that helps. I hope that shows too, like how easy some of this stuff can be. And when it's all said and done, very quickly, within a few hours, you know, you have a nice intro typography animation. So that's it. That's the whole process. Black and white typography, building our effects, our grunge effects over top, and then animating that rig so we can easily move from look to look to look. It's a super fun technique, and you don't really have to use it just for typography. You can use it for images, videos, really anything you want to grunge up. So experiment, have some fun. If you do create something, post it in the community. I love seeing it. I know Cameron does as well. And until next time, my name's Ryan with Motion Science. We'll see you soon.